Welcome everyone. It's Victor here. Today's episode is a little bit different. Instead of interviewing an incredible guest, I'm gonna sit down with you and just share from my heart. I'll be talking about three things that matter deeply to me. First, actually, is my new children's book. Victor is not my name. I'll talk a little bit about that book and the meaning behind it and why I wrote it. Second is the powerful lessons I've learned from my podcast guests. I've had an incredible set of guests, 22 by now. And so I'll be talking a little bit about what I've learned from these incredible guests over the last couple seasons. And finally, of course, I'm going to have to talk about some consejos. These are all traditional sayings in Spanish that I grew up with that guide my life. And so I want you to hear a little bit of my inner voice. So let's dive in. I want to start with something very personal. My new children's book, Victor's Not My Name. This book is about growing up in tough circumstances and feeling like the word victor, which means winner, did not apply to me. Growing up, I never felt like I was a winner. I felt like a big loser. I wrote this book because a lot of teachers read my young adult book, Street Life, Poverty, Gangs, and a PhD, and they assigned it to their adolescent and teenage students. Some community colleges and even universities assigned it to their students as well. But a lot of elementary school teachers asked me, how can we have these conversations with little ones who are going through similar struggles? You know, kids who are seeing the raw realities of families being snatched away by ICE, kids growing up in poverty with their bellies hurting sometimes on a daily basis because they don't have enough food to eat, or just seeing the violence and trauma that impacts their learning. So teachers were like, "Hey, you know, my kids, they're fourth graders, third graders, but they're showing up and they're talking about these very heavy experiences, and I need a way to be able to talk to them." So I decided it was important to write a book that's for children. It's at their level. It's mellow. It's soft. It's tender. It's funny. It's fun, but it also allows teachers and parents to talk to kids about some of these big issues in our society today. So as a kid, I often felt powerless growing up with poverty, immigration struggles, bullying, and sometimes making bad choices. And it all weighed heavy on me. At times, I thought my name was a mistake. How could I be a victor, right? Victor means winner, right? It's a victorious. Um, but I never felt that way. I felt like a loser. My mom, she named me Victor after this man who she worked for. She, did domestic work, cleaning for him, and at the time, she admired the name because he had helped her when I was born. I was really sick, and ended up hospitalized, and he actually paid for my medicine. And so she was like, I really want to name this kid after this man that helped me out a lot and helped him out a lot. So that was how I got my name. But it wasn't until later on in life I started to reflect on what it meant. And, as a kid, I'm like, man, that Victor, that's not an appropriate name for me. So as I'm growing up, I'm wrestling with this notion that my name is supposed to mean something important. So as I wrote this story, I wanted the kids who feel unseen, unheard, or hopeless to feel supported. I wanted them to know they can hang in there, that caring adults, teachers, mentors, parents, even other people's parents, right? A kind stranger can change the trajectory of a life. The book talks about immigration, poverty, bullying, fighting, bad choices, and making better choices. It talks about good teachers, future planning, and believing in yourself. It says you might not feel like a victor today, but you can grow into your own meaning of your own name, your meaning of what it means to be a winner in life. I've shared the book with various elementary school teachers, And here are some of their questions and my responses. Krista asks, how can schools be sanctuaries for kids stuck in survival mode? That's a great question. A lot of times their children, they're just figuring out where they're going to get their next meal or how they're going to take care of the little sibling. And so when a child feels unsafe, curiosity shuts down, childhood shuts down, learning takes a back seat to survival. So educators can be that safe harbor with kindness, with consistency, and with signals that say, you belong. I'm here for you. And even though you got a lot of drama and trauma going on in your life, when you come to my classroom and when you come to my school, I'm going to let you feel like a kid. I'm going to let you feel like you can have fun. I'm going to let you feel like you can have joy in life. So to my educators, I just say, hey, just bring joy to children that are struggling because a lot of times they might not be seeing that joy out there in the real world. So even temporary safety can ignite learning. When we create that environments, kids start to discover parts of themselves that they didn't even know existed. And so that's very important for us as educators to continue that journey of letting little ones know, hey, you know what? I went through some struggles growing up. I know people that have been through struggles. You might be going through struggles, but I'm here to support you through those very struggles. I'll give you an example of one of the struggles I talk about in the book, and that's being bullied. I was one of the few Mexican kids in my neighborhood growing up. And, ever since elementary school, I had kids, uh, calling me a burrito boy. They're like, hey, burrito boy, you burrito boy. And that really got to me. And of course, the traditional, conventional, dirty slang words that I don't even want to mention here that get told to kids for being immigrant or for being Mexican. Um, all these names, I mean, Beaner and other really terrible names. So just that struggle really got me to a place where my self esteem was low, really low. So Ramona asked, what helps students connect with their teachers? For older students, like high school students, middle school students, I always ask them in my research, like, "Hey, can you name a teacher that's helped you?" And they'll say, "Yeah, like my teacher that helped me the most is a teacher that understands what I'm going through." They come at us at our level of respect is one of the quotes that I love, to mention that one of the kids said. I'll say it again. They come to me at my level of respect. And that's important, right? What level of respect is a kid at that's going through a lot? It's a level of respect of understanding their story. And then for younger kids, it's understanding that they're going to need the basics. They're going to need food, they're gonna need fun, and they're gonna need to know that you can provide joy for them, and that's the connection you make as an educator. Whether it's a struggle, that young people are going through, it's always important, right, for us to be there, for those struggles. Another educator, Karime, asked, how do you inspire students to share their stories? Your story is medicine. It heals you and it heals others. A lot of times we get shy about sharing our stories, because people come out of the woodworks and try to dim our light in life. And so it's important for us to not let people dim our light. It's important for us to share our stories, right? Because that is our story is our light. So if you're feeling like people are dimming your light, share your story, right? The challenge is really to push through that self-doubt, and the reward is freedom and connection, right? And so if you're teaching students to um, find that connection, you're teaching them to share their story. Once you share your story, you never know uh, who you will help with that story. Someone may be waiting to hear exactly what you have to live through. So you want to give students simple prompts, let them draw first and add a sentence, then another, celebrate more steps. The goal is not a perfect story, the goal is expression. Another educator, Holly, asked about writing for kids versus adults. I have to say the hardest part was simplifying without watering down the truth. Kids deserve honesty and they deserve hope. Hope is the bridge that lets truth feel less heavy. I'll say it again. Hope is the bridge that lets the truth feel less heavy, right? When you tell the truth with that hope in mind, then the truth isn't as the truth of life, right? Life it can be painful, but if you just provide the hope, you say, hey, you know what? We're having all these problems today in our society. We're having all these problems at home. I'm gonna be real with you. Like I'm not 100% as a person in my well-being right now. Just having those real conversations with children and saying, I'm not fully the person I could be, whether I'm your teacher or whether I'm your parent, right? As a parent, like I'm not fully there. I apologize. I'm going to keep growing. I'm going to keep working on myself. Having that growth mindset is so important, folks, especially when you're guiding children and young people for them to see your vulnerability. Like, no one's perfect. No adult is perfect. No parent is perfect. No one teaches us how to be parents. We just all of a sudden become parents, and then we're supposed to be perfect. But always growing, I think, is so important. Providing young people that opportunity to share um, is crucial. And then another educator, Dina, asked, "What inspired me to write this book?" And I wanted kids like me to know they're not alone. Inspiration is not always a grand moment. Often it's a simple need: the need to belong, the need to be seen, the need to hear someone say, "You can make it." So if we think about this, right? Um, there's a lot of people out there struggling, suffering. You never know. Just providing someone a space and an opportunity to share a little bit about themselves. How do you do that? You just ask them. Tell me about your name. Tell me about your story. Tell me about what you've been through lately. What's something exciting you've done lately? And maybe what's one of your struggles you've gone through lately? You'd be surprised. People want to be heard out there. And when we could be those ears for people to listen to them, what they're going through, maybe we take some of that hurt away and we provide hope, right? We take one H away, the hurt, and we provide with another H, the hope. And if you think about it, there's a lot of people out there causing harm to others and full of hate, and many times they're doing it because they're hurting inside. Because hurt people, and healed people heal people. And so many people out there right now with their words or their actions are hurting others, you dehumanizing others, putting people down, asking for all these things to happen to people just because of the color of their skin or where they came from. That's a lot of hate. And you know what? That hate is coming from hurt. People won't admit that, but that's the truth. When people are hating on you, it's because they're hurting. And again, I'll say it again: hurt people, but healed people heal people. What side do you want to be on? Do you want to be part of the haters or do you want to be part of the healers? That's a choice you get to make every day when you wake up. If you want to be part of the hate and the haters, go ahead. It's going to sink you into a hole, right? Because hate equals hate. Actually, on the way here, I have to say to the studio today, in the parking lot of the studio, I had someone that was trying to park, and then they were double parked, and then I was like, "Hey, you mind moving? Because I need the spot," and they just cussed me out, and I have to say, like, I was about ready to cuss them out, and I thought this very same thing I was going to say today to all of you. Am I going to be part of the hate, or am I going to be part of the healing? So I just said, "Oh, you know what? It's okay. You can have the spot. I'll just go around the block, park over there, and I'll be back later." And the person kind of just froze up because they expected me to come at them in the same crazy way they came at me. Later, I found out, uh, when I was walking into the building, that this person, they had someone with them that was disabled. And so I could see them struggling, and I didn't know this, and I realized, like, oh, it was better for me to be nice to this person, because they have someone with them that they're helping that's disabled, and maybe that's why they're so stressed out. So you never know what a person is going through, and just to be part of that process of giving people that benefit of the doubt. You might be going through a really tough time right now. That's why you're cussing me out. I'm not gonna cuss you out. I'm not gonna give you that same kind of energy. Takes a lot to do. It's been a practice I've been trying lately. It's been working for me because you could see people flipping to the positive when they're being negative, right? So try it out. Try it out. I would challenge you to try it out. Someone comes at you crazy, road rages you at the store, cuts you off in line, even a loved one, maybe your partner at home, dinner time, make some remark that's negative, give some positive love and feedback, and let me know in the comments. Let me know uh, how the people react when you put that positivity out when there's the negativity that they're putting out. Another educator asked Susan, she asked, what can kids from privileged backgrounds learn from your story? I have to say that, everyone faces a struggle. It could be academic, social, physical, emotional, right? We think just because a kid comes from money or a middle class family that they're not struggling, but that's not true. A lot of times, young people are going through a lot, even if they're coming from places where there's some privilege. You think about all the high divorce rates. You think about there's a lot of rich parents out there that are not there for their kids. They got other people raising them. So a lot of times, of course, money is important. And the research shows that children growing up in poverty are facing more trauma, are facing more drama every day, are facing a lot of, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. But young people growing up privileged, whether they're middle class or upper class, there's so much research out there that shows their emotional well being sometimes is not taken care of. A lot of times we assume they're doing okay, but they're also hurting inside. That goes back to my idea of hurt people being hurt and us not being there to guide them regardless of where they come from. So I think privileged kids can see the struggles and say, I haven't gone through these struggles, right? I haven't been um, on the streets without a place to stay, but I have to say that like I felt the lack of parent guidance in the past, or I have to say that I felt like society doesn't understand me right now. And because of that, I've actually wanted to hurt myself. And national statistics show that over one third of all kids, regardless of their income levels, by the time they're teenagers, have thought about hurting themselves one way or another in the past. That's over a third of kids out there in the United States. So we got a lot of healing to do, folks. So resilience is for everyone. My book invites empathy, not pity. It shows that listening, allyship, and taking responsibility for your choices are universal skills. We have to teach our children that, hey, we have to be part of a community and we have to take responsibility. It's only in that responsibility that we can say, okay, you know what? I said something mean or I'm acting mean towards others. I need to check myself. Why am I doing that? What's going on in here? What's little Victor suffering right now that I haven't been able to heal, even though I'm an adult now and I'm still hurting others through my words or my actions? Okay, so little Victor needs this kind of attention. And only then can we really get to a world where people are getting along and a world where people are helping each other heal. So the book also asks kids to be compassionate leaders in their classrooms and communities. And so just putting that kind of message out there, I think it's important, especially during our tough times we live in, where our society is polarized, right? So it's like you're either here politically or you're here politically, and you're going at it with each other, and we watch it on TV every night, and it's like little kids are tired of seeing that, right? Our adults are not being good role models, right? They're just like, I'm gonna stand my ground here, and I'm not gonna listen to you, and I'm gonna stand my ground here, I'm not gonna listen to you. And little kids are being taught these skills. Uh, we need a new world where children learn that it's okay to listen to the stories of others and why they feel the way they feel, and then maybe we can negotiate. And it's okay if we don't agree. It's okay if you don't think someone like me belongs here in this space, but that's just your opinion, right? We're all going to find a way to include each other in our society and our community. So another educator, Kathy, asks how to talk to a student who says they do not have a dad, and how to respond when another student teases them about it. That's a tough one because that was me. I didn't have a father. He abandoned me before I was born. Like I was angry because I didn't have a father. I wanted to beat people up because, like, man, I was looking for a dad and I couldn't find one. And I hit the streets. I'm looking. The older guys are guiding me. They're teaching me stuff, and maybe they're like father figures to me. So I would hang out with all older guys, and they would teach me all these things I shouldn't have been learning, but I was always looking for that dad. So I think we need more men to step up and be positive father figures out there, letting young men know that they belong. Hey, that they can be compassionate, that then they care for others, that they could respect women, and that they can teach each other that it's okay if you don't have a dad because we're going to back each other up. And just setting clear classroom norms with other students that, hey, you know what? We don't disrespect our classmates, right? We respect each other's family stories, and we respect each other's journey. And if you don't have a dad, guess what? In the future, you get to be that dad that you never had. And that was my experience. I was always looking for that dad. I found him when uh, my kids were born. That's when I found my father. And I was able to be that father that I always wanted in my life. So be for the adults, you know, be that person, whether it's a parent that you always wanted, or the teacher that you always wanted, or the mentor that you always wanted. Guide others in that way. Who did you want when you were in your most vulnerable moment? That's who you need to be for others that you're guiding out there in the world. Yeah. So just thinking about ways in which we can give students language to talk to each other in more positive ways and respect the different origins that we come from. One more educator, Lorena, asks if the book touches on resilience during injustice. Yes, we want to make sure that young people don't get too bombarded with adult politics and negativity, but the message is there that even in chaos, you have the right to dream. You have the responsibility to make a plan and hold on to education as something that's going to guide you in the future. Education is that ladder when the world feels like quicksand. And as children grow into young adults, they can use the education to change the very systems that have hurt them and their communities. That was my experience, right? Like I grew up in an environment where the cops were always harassing us as teenagers, beating us up, chasing us down, accusing us of things we didn't do, criminalizing us in an environment where teachers told us we would never amount to anything, where adults in the neighborhood were predatory and coming after us and abusing us and trying to make us do their dirty deeds so that they could make money. So I came from those environments where the adults were not to be trusted. And so for me, it was important to grow up, get an education, become a professional, and hold adults accountable so that they could be there for future generations in a more positive way. And so I've been blessed to be part of that process of changing systems. Specifically for me, it's been education systems, right? Making sure that the adults in education systems hold themselves accountable to making sure that all students feel that their teachers got their back, that their schools got their back. Luis asked about trauma when loved ones are taken. That's a tough one. You cannot erase that pain, especially with young people. You just walk them through it, let them share their pain. That it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to cry. Um, Remind them they're not defined by that moment of loss, and help them imagine a future bigger than the trauma. That's important, right? Oh man, I'm sorry for your loss, and what would that loved one want for you to do in life? Oh, that loved one, my uncle that passed away, he would want me to do good in school. Okay, I'll help you do that. I'll help you fulfill your uncle's dream for you, right? So just helping them build from the loss is so important. That is how the wound becomes a scar, and that scar becomes a story of survival, right? We all, you know, as the great poet Khalil Gibran says, um, the greatest souls are filled with scars. The greatest souls are filled with scars. You think of anyone out there in our history, I'm talking about the history of humanity, that has done anything big that we can think of, whether it's Jesus, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., you name them, in terms of people that have made a difference in this world, these are people with heavy scars, aren't they? And so those of us that come from environments where we've been wounded and have scars are the ones that can make a difference in the world. And that's what we teach the next generation. Hey, the world must have been cruel to you, but you're not a victim. You're a survivor and you're a thriver. And the truth is that a lot of people out there, some of them in power, feel like victims, act like victims, and tell a story of being a victim. And that only leads to negativity. We have to work with them too. We have to be compassionate to them and say, hey, you know what? I'm not with the victim story. I'm with the survivor story. I'm with the thriver story. So why don't we rescript your story? People aren't after you. People aren't our society's not against you. We all are one community. Let's come together, right, and all be survivors and thrivers, not uh, just victims, right? Of course, we go through stuff. People do bad things to us sometimes, and we have to pick up the pieces, put ourselves back together, and become those survivors and those thrivers. I even had kids ask me questions, and I published these questions in the book. And I'm going to share a few of these questions with you. I shared the book with teachers. They had their kids turning in some questions for me. Was it scary to share your story in a book? And my response is yes. I was shy about telling people about my personal life. However, I believe it is very important for all of us to share our journeys so that we know we are not alone in the world. Sharing our journeys helps turn our struggles into superpowers. Another young person asked, hey, do you have pets? And I said, yeah, I have a dog. She's a rescue Chihuahua mixed with Pit Bull. Her name's Cora. She loves running on the beach and playing fetch all day. And just for more backstory, folks, Cora is from Bakersfield. We rescued her from out there. She's a Bakersfield street dog, and she's mighty. She's pretty mighty. And then it says, a question from a kid says, what makes you laugh? And I say, fart sounds. And just kidding. Seeing other people laugh makes me laugh. Another kid asks, what's your favorite food? And I said, mole is my favorite food. It's a spicy yet sweet dish that my mom makes. And she's from Michoacan in Mexico, that state where, in my opinion, the mole is just incredible because it's really got a good spice. It's not too sweet. It's got a good kick. But I know we could debate it. I know Oaxaca has great moles as well. But that's the mole my mom makes from Michoacan. It takes incredible. It tastes incredible. Um, it's made with ingredients like chili peppers, chocolate, spices, and it's often served over chicken and rice. If you haven't tried it, try it out. Mole. Just go to a really authentic Mexican restaurant and just try the mole. Mole. And then tell us about your first class in college. The kids want to know about college. My first class in college was an English class where I had to learn to write a 5-page paper. I was nervous and didn't know if I could ever be a good writer. However, I worked hard, improved my writing skills, and have now written 10 books. So ultimately, folks, I had fun, as you can tell, with this book. It was important to me. I know, hey, there's always going to be commentary out there, right? I'm not going to listen to the negative commentary. Maybe I'll learn from some of it, I'll grow from it, but I'm not going to let that define me. But Victor's Not My Name is a love letter to children who doubt themselves and to the adults who stand beside them. It says your circumstances do not have the final word. Your choices, your community, your courage, all of those can rewrite your story. It is about transforming hopelessness into hope and turning pain into power. The kind of power that is not loud or flashy, the kind that helps you get up one more time, try one more time, and believe one more time. Make sure to get your copy of Victor Is Not My Name, available now on Amazon and anywhere else where books are sold. Now let me shift gears. Over the past year, I've been blessed to have incredible guests on this podcast, and each one left a piece of wisdom that stayed with me. Think of this as this like a weaving together of all this wisdom into one big set of knowledge that all these wonderful guests have given me. I'll start with Jose Ansaldo. He's the young man who grew up picking lettuce with his mom. He's now at UC Berkeley on a full ride scholarship. And he taught me that perseverance can be born out of necessity. He told me when a door opens, I want you to walk inside. That is why I sacrifice so much. Sometimes we move forward not because we want to, but because we have to. That kind of survival builds strength, but it is purpose that builds legacy. So what is your purpose out there? Are you there to help others? Are you there to build a business? Are you there to change the way in which your community is looked at? So the transition for me was asking, what am I surviving for, and how can I turn that survival into service? And that's what Jose Ansaldo taught me, turning your survival into service, into helping others. Then there's Jesus Vera, a young man that's a therapist out, very for young people, but also for individuals that are in the hospital on their last days of life. And he's the person that they talk to and share their life story with before they pass away. It's a powerful job he has. And he talks about legacy. He thinks about legacy a lot because a lot of people are passing away there in front of him. And legacy is not like an applause, right? It's not like, oh yeah, I'm the GOAT, but it is an impact. He said an imprint of your impact is what legacy is. I'll say it again, imprint of your impact. What impact do you have in the world? That is what legacy is. And he also taught me, for those of you that watched that episode, about accountability groups, accountability homies, where you every week, you contact some of your best friends or some of your family members, and you're asking them and each other, right? You hold each other accountable. What did you do this week to be positive? What did you do this week to move forward in life? What did you do this week to help your family? What did you do this week to improve? If you're an alcoholic, what did you do this week to make sure you're no longer an alcoholic, or that you start that process? If you're someone that's got anger issues, what did you do this week to fade out that anger from your life? And it could be as simple as responding, I went to therapy and they taught me some tools. Hey, check. Guess what? You held yourself accountable for that week, and I'm here to listen to that accountability. Sometimes that's our legacy, is just to hold ourselves accountable, to do better, to be better, and to help make our world better. From Angel Romeo and Jesus Flores, I learned that success requires being multidimensional. So success requires being multidimensional. You could be professional and you could be playful. You can be a philosopher and what Angel and Jesus called a philosopher, someone from the neighborhood, from someone from struggle. That's a fool, but is now a philosopher. So it was a really fun episode with them. Authenticity is success. True power is being whole, not one dimensional. Their lesson gave me permission to bring my full self into every room, right? Like I'm the scholar, I'm the homie, I'm the teacher, I'm the student, I'm the author, I'm the keynote speaker, and I'm just a fool, right? From Oakland, California. That's it, all of it. They allowed me that opportunity to be that shapeshifter, and thank you to them for doing that. Dr. Robin Avelar LaSalle reminded me that structured schools with consistent routines and high expectations are medicine for children who have experienced trauma. I'll say it again. Structured schools with consistent routines and high expectations are medicine for children who have experienced trauma. Ask ourselves, do we have an environment, an ecosystem of cariño, an ecosystem of care, of embrace, where young people feel that they have routines that they can rely on so that they have that safety and that feeling of home at school when maybe they're not having the safety or feeling of home back where they live. So it makes sense. Consistency is the love language of resilience. When students can predict the rhythm of the day, they can risk curiosity again. Safety opens the door, structure invites them to walk through it. When I spoke with State Senator Monique Limon, I was struck by her idea that leadership is carrying the dreams of your community. I'll say it again. Leadership is carrying the dreams of your community. A leader is not a spotlight. A leader is a bridge that is responsible for their community. Her example challenged me to ask, whose dream am I carrying today, and how can I make space for them to cross? If you recall, in that episode with Senator Monique Limon, she talked about being born in the United States, but because of who her parents were, immigrants from Mexico, she got put in English language learning classes as if she had been the one that came from Mexico and didn't know how to speak English properly, and she did. And it wasn't until later on that another teacher that believed in her said, "Hey, you belong in the conventional classroom, and you're an advanced learner, and I'm gonna get you far in life." And that's what inspired Monique to go on to get these big degrees and become the state leader that she is for California. Incredible work that she's doing out there. Greg Falk, my student that did a long sentence in prison and then became my UC Santa Barbara student. And we're talking about getting him ready for law school right now. He offered one of the deepest lessons of forgiveness I've ever heard and how they can break generational cycles. He had that story with his dad making him feel stupid ever since he was a little kid. And he said, we forgive not because they deserve it, but because we deserve peace. Forgiveness is freedom disguised as grace. I'll say it again. When you forgive, you let yourself free. And that is the grace that you give others. But truly, it's almost like a selfish thing because you allow yourself to free yourself from that resentment, that pain, and that anger. Forgiveness does not erase the past. It releases the past so the future can breathe. And we're always wanting to make sure that we are building for a better future and not just mad or pissed off about the past. From Mr. Regis Inge, right? This is Kendrick Lamar's teacher, who Kendrick Lamar credits for becoming a rapper and a poet laureate, right? He's a Pulitzer Prize winner and multi Grammy winner. Um, I heard a humbling truth from Mr. Inge. He said, the kids taught me to teach, right? So it's not, I'm a master teacher and I created Kendrick Lamar. No, he's saying, Kendrick taught me how to teach him. Right. Because the best teachers are forever students. Teaching starts with listening, with curiosity, with the courage to admit you're still learning. Angel Martinez, a multimillionaire, right, that came from Cuba without his parents, ended up living with his uncle, and became a shoe salesman just to survive. And then he eventually built all these incredible brands of shoes that we all recognize, whether it's Hoka or whether it's Ugg boots. He was part of that leadership that brought these companies to billion-dollar companies. He showed me that passion transforms ordinary work into extraordinary impact. So for him, it was the shoes. That's okay. That's his purpose. That's his passion. And he took it, ran with it, and he became a multi-millionaire with that. So who would have thought that shoes could create a millionaire's legacy, right? But it wasn't the shoes, it was the passion behind them, the love for the craft, the commitment to people, the joy of building something that serves others. DeMonte Thompson reminded me not to confuse speed with progress. Like, oh, I'm in a haste. I'm rushing through this because that's success. And he's like, nah. DeMonte was once in college, right? He had gone from being a foster kid in Compton to getting to college, and he thought, I made it. And he's rushing, and he bumps into a pole, right? And hits his face. And he was supposed to go to an acting audition that day, and he was all busted up. And in that moment, he learned what his uncle had taught him. And his uncle had said, don't be in a rush. Don't be in no rush. So in a world that worships us being fast, come on, move it, move it, move it. DeMonte invites us to be faithful and to be okay with being patient, that change doesn't come overnight, right? For those of us that think that our world could be better, our country could be better, it's going to take time to build a better world, to build a better country. But we're going to do it because we're faithful, because we're patient, and as DeMonte teaches us, because we're in no rush. My wife, Rebecca, for those of you that saw that episode, she grounded me in the power of healthy relationships. She's taught me that love is two pillars side by side, choosing to back each other up on a daily basis, being healthy as a couple, kindness, and we're going to have hard days, but we still just got to have compassion for each other. And we do not lean on each other to the point of collapse. We stand strong together so we can lift others. And that's been our mission, and it's been a wonderful one. Audrey Lee, the author, novelist, multi-award winning now, reminded me that stories are medicine. She talked about being Asian American and sort of that experience, right, of educators and peers, sometimes not understanding where she was coming from. So these stories heal our communities because we get to learn about each other. They're stories that help us bridge multiple worlds together. When we tell the truth about where we have been, we make room for others to find their way home. Dr. Juan Santos taught me that when you reward others, it could be through money. You give a student, in this case, a reason to show up to school. Man, I hate school. Man, I don't want to be in school. Man, I don't like my teachers. Man, this place, I'd rather be out there on the streets. Oh, but Dr. Santos is giving away cash at lunchtime. I'm showing up. I need some cash. I need to eat. And then you get to school, and even though you're there for the money, because you're there getting to interact with those teachers and that principal, it helps you discover the reason why you want to stay in school. In other words, sometimes it's okay to provide people some cash, some incentives to be there, because along the way, they'll discover a true purpose that's beyond money, even though all of us could use a little bit of money here and there, right? Former NFL football player Love Jefferson challenged me when he said, "Hey man, the lone wolf dies, the pack survives." For a long time, I thought being a lone wolf was strength, but he challenged me. He said the real purpose grows in community. A village does not make you weaker, it makes you unstoppable. And medical doctor Michael Shinoda, heart doctor, right, cardiologist, he took the loss of his father and turned pain into purpose. He's like, man, I lost my dad. They could have done better in the medical industry for my dad. Now I'm going to go and become a doctor and help others. And finally, my mom, Raquel, that was a tough episode. It's in Spanish. And I got, she told some stuff, like wanting to, take her life away and take me with her. That was tough to hear. But that's where she was when I was a kid. She wasn't doing well in her mental health. And but then you ask her, like, why did you want to take me with you? And she says, oh, because I wanted to protect you. And that's powerful, when we were homeless under a tree in the park, she showed us resilience. She showed us to be tough, to survive. She didn't have all the answers, and she wasn't perfect, but she had hope. And hope kept us moving. Resilience is staying one more day, even when the nights feel endless. Her courage in a new country without anyone to give her a helping hand taught me that if she could go through all that, I know I could keep an ember alive in my heart. Because that little ember, the little spark, can become a fire. And that fire continues to light in the work that I do every day. So these lessons from the episodes we've had so far, this wisdom, is powerful. Whether it's from a classroom, a Senate chamber, a factory floor, a kitchen table, a park bench, each place can be its own university if our hearts are open. You never know who's going to give you wisdom out there, so keep your ears open and listen to people that are trying to guide you in the right direction. If something you heard resonated with you, carry it into your next conversation, your next class, your next meeting. Let it change how you show up. And remember, this has been all about not leading with hate, not leading with hurt, but leading with healing, leading with compassion. Okay, folks, so finally, my third component of this episode today, I want to share some consejos. These are the sayings in Spanish that my mom and elders told me growing up. These are little nuggets of wisdom passed down through generations, and yes, sometimes delivered with a raised eyebrow or even a flying chancla, if you know what I mean. Growing up, that chancla, it just connected with you no matter how far away you were from mom. She just knew how to throw that chancla magically at you. And that, if you were lucky, that's what she threw at you. Otherwise, she was throwing other stuff at you. So one of my favorite quotes that my mom would always say to me is, camarón que se duerme solo lleva la corriente. The shrimp that falls asleep gets carried away by the current. So stay awake, stay alert. Do not miss opportunities in practice. It means noticing that the door is open and step through it. I've taken advantage of opportunity every step of the way of my career. If someone said, hey, this job is open for you, I'm applying for it. This program is for you. I'm going to be there. Anytime there's an opportunity, no te duermas. Right? No te duermas. Ponte las pilas. Right? Don't fall asleep. Put on the battery pack. Right? Ponte las pilas. Échale ganas. I can't translate échale ganas, okay? Échale ganas is essentially um, a paragraph of translation, but it just means like give it your all, give it your best, don't give up, be resilient, be strong, hang in there. I believe in you. It means all of those things in one. Échale ganas. Another one, el que madruga, Dios lo ayuda. God helps those who wake up early. Success favors the proactive. Life rewards those who take initiatives. You do not have to be a morning person. You do have to be a movement person. You have to be someone that's always in action. Another line I grew up hearing, de la estilla sale la rosa. My mom would always say that. From the thorn comes the rose. Beauty can rise from what seems rough or ordinary. Roses come with thorns, yet they bloom. It's a reminder that tenderness and toughness can live in the same heart. And my mom would always say that. I think she was talking about herself and her children. And I think she thought that she was the thorn. At least that's the way I remember her talking about her and her kids. She was a thorn, so she was going to have these roses. And she'd just say it, you know. Another one is al mal tiempo, buena cara. In tough times and storms, put on a good face. You know, that's when I get cussed out in the parking lot today. On my way here, I was like, man, like, really? I don't deserve this. Cussing me out because I'm trying to park. But positivity is survival. And sometimes a smile is a rebellion against hate. Another one I like is no hay mal que por bien no venga. My mom would always say that. No hay mal que por bien no venga. Every setback can carry seeds of opportunity. Right? That if you're having a bad experience, there's got to be something good at the end of that tunnel. So ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me when you're going through a tough time? There must be something good that's going to come along the way. That's the balance of the universe, the yin and the yang. And in Nahuatl, in the Aztec language, we call it Ometel. Ome means two and Tel means energy. So the two energies of the universe, the universal dual energies of our entire existence, day and night, hot and cold, good and evil. That is Ometel, and it's a big deal in the philosophy of the Aztecs. Matter of fact, I named my son, his middle name is Ometel. His name is Marco Ometel Rios. To remind him and us and everyone of the duality of the universe. Yeah? Another one, dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. Tell me who you walk with and I will tell you who you are. Your circle shapes your character. Choose friends who remind you of your future, not only your past. And here's another one. Agua que no has de beber, déjala correr. If it's not your water, let it flow. Do not get tangled in other people's drama. Protect your peace so you can protect your purpose. Agua que no has de beber, déjala correr. Hey, let that water roll. That's not for you. El que no arriesga, no gana. The one who does not risk does not win. No risk, no reward. Playing it safe rarely changes the world. Thoughtful courage does. Or as Gen Z would say, scare money, don't make money. All right, and the last one, el que busca encuentra. The one who seeks finds. If you're what you're looking for, that persistence is going to lead to discovery. Keep looking for meaning, answers, and hope because the search shapes you into the person who can recognize the answer when it arrives. These are not just sayings, folks. They're in Spanish. They're in my native tongue. They're in the sabiduría, the wisdom of my people. But they're not just sayings. They're survival strategies. And they're pocket-sized philosophies that kept my family focused, working, laughing, and believing through the hard times. When I repeat them today, I hear my mother's voice, I hear my elders' voice, I feel my community's courage, and I remember that wisdom lives in simple words practiced daily. So today we took a journey together from my children's book to the wisdom about my podcast guests to the consejos that guide me. I hope something here spoke to you. Remember, your story matters, your struggles have value, and your future is worth fighting for. Thank you for listening. I will see you next time. Take care.